Back today working on the Lugols FlowCell version. It's a single fuel, so it only needs 2 electrodes and a little chamber where the electrolyte can flow through. That's what this piece is going to be. 7mm between carbon felts. So there's a lip around there. Based on the amount the carbon foam can compress and still allow the carbon pad that sits on the back of it to be held flat and sealed against that surface. That's just a separate gasket put around there so it fits just on there. Carbon pad will seal it to the surface when the bolts are tightened up, and collector on the back of the cell, which then the cover plate will hold everything down, compressed by the retainers. So I'll construct that and get ready for a test. Don't know if it's going to work, but it might. Yeah, I was wondering if I should put a zinc, but I'll do a zinc version if this doesn't work. I'll put a zinc plate in there. Welcome back. We're going to test the fuel cell version of the Lugols cell. This time I added some relatively pure zinc instead of using the battery zincs. I think the stuff that was coming out of the floating out and around the bottom of the cell was the gunk, what was the remainder of whatever percentage of zinc. That cell has that like piece of zinc from a D battery. So I've got this on charge, so now that's like zinc iodide, and I've got the pump pumping at 1.5 volts, 40 milliamps. Starting to turn colour, or it was a lot clearer when I first started, and it's getting browner. So charge voltage is 2.6, 340 milliamps, 2.6 and 360. Oh, it just jumped up then. Only jumped up a bit there. So I'll let that charge up for a while. They're both carbon sides. There is a favoured positive or negative side on the battery. You just have to hook up your multimeter and run the fluid through it and connect the leads at random, and then it will say if they're positive or negative. Just swap them around and then mark your plate for positive. You could just do it either way, but there might be an advantage to the side already recognised as positive. Maybe, just guessing. Ready for a discharge after a 2-hour charge. Stop the monitoring. The pump's still going at that flow rate, and it's still at 1.5 and 40 milliamps. Right, ready for a discharge. Trying 50 milliamps, hoping anything could happen. All right, so far it's holding nice. 1.1 volts, 50 milliamp load. All right, okay, for the first discharge of the flow cell, 14 minutes, and the liquid's back to yellowish. So that could be the total life. It's still like running 20 milliamps, but only on 0.1 volts. And seems to be lighter to pump because we're only using, oh, there, we're fluctuating, so it's probably like 3.39. Alright, it's an open cell, it's summer here, so that's going to evaporate, so I'm going to have to probably add water here and there. I'll keep charging something when I get time and see what happens. With 10 milliamps as a load, the voltage goes back up. It's holding at 0.45. Pump's still flowing. Alright, back today. This is the 21st cycle on the cell. It was charged last night and left overnight. So the liquid is still in its charged state. Gonna see if it still runs its 20 milliamps in an hour. So started off pretty crappy, but still around about 22 milliamp hours. But the voltage was very low, 0.22, 0.19, 0.22, low. Starting to pick up now over the hour, 0.66 in an hour. Slowly increasing to 0.8, back down. 16, 17 and 18's charge, I flipped the cell. Positive side was down, negative was up, and 18, 19 and 20 I flipped it back the other way. It doesn't seem to be much difference in the positioning. The lower voltages was when it was in the vertical position. I think zinc and stuff was gathering at the bottom where that pipe is and bridging. Hence the low voltage and forming dendrites. The cell seems to like a faster pump speed and agitated water, or electrolyte I should say. Like if it's a good stream, it sort of stirs it up and you get a bit more of a run, and the conversion back to zinc iodine is complete. Okay, all ready to go. The voltage without fluid in the chamber is 0.22, turning on the pump. I think the pump's dying because I had to increase the voltage to 3.28, 110 milliamps thereabouts. Yep. It's a bit slow on the voltage build up. Getting there. This is the first time I've left it overnight without running it again, so we don't really know what we're going to get. We're at 0.6. I'll activate a load and see if we still increase in voltage. It's only 20 milliamps because the cell itself is large, but inside the pad's only probably yay big. I think it's like 20 by 20, which is actually getting an electrolyte over it. Okay, it's holding its milliamps and voltage is actually still going up. So we might have successfully have a charged cell left idle. It's got to get to 20 milliamps though, and it's run, and 15 milliwatt hours is around about the right size. 17 there. I think 17 is the highest, yeah. But there's not a lot of zinc and not a lot of electrolyte, and plus the electrolyte was used in this cell, which we would have lost a lot of the electrolyte as well. I've had to add distilled water to it, so it's watered down. I was trying to recover some by cleaning that in some water, so it's like zinc iodine there, being that colour. I'm not sure if we're increasing voltage now, so we're probably under power. Could be oxidization, could be some liquid still left in there eating zinc away over the night. Well, I'll get back when that's done. Alright, major difference in leaving it overnight until now. Still got 16 milliamp hours, but that was for an hour and 18 minutes, but only 4 milliwatt hours. And very low voltage, average voltage was 0.24. And that should be a bit lighter in colour by about this time. So probably the zinc has oxidized overnight on the cell. Maybe I'll charge it up and see what happens. Okay, the pump has died by the looks of it. Oh, hang on, must have been jammed. I just connected it again. Nah, it's not pumping, it doesn't sound good. Oh, hang on, here it comes. But not very fast, and it sounds very noisy. And it's drawing 290 milliamps. Alright. Well, there you go. So it's 20 milliamp hours, not on this run, but overall seems to be milliamp hour column. I got another pump, but it won't fit in this container, and if I get a larger container we won't have enough electrolyte. There's only that much. But I probably should save the pennies and get some more. I'll get back in a later video or a later day. It's like 40 degrees out here. Cell's back in action with a 5-volt USB pump. It's at its maximum voltage and 280 milliamps. Cell had an hour's charge. It's got a 20 milliamp load and it's holding 1.2 at the moment. The pump's actually, it's not that much faster than before. Maybe the flow rate's a bit better. But chews a lot more juice. "38 charges later, the cell was down to 14 milliamp hours and 4 milliwatt hours. It started at 22 milliamp hours and 5 milliwatt, and slowly increased. These are the average voltage. Started going up and started to get a decline around 34. I think we max out at 22 milliamp hours, but sometimes the milliwatt hours is up. So I thought I'd stick like 2 grams of zinc in powder in there and give it like, I gave it like about I don't know, at least 20 hours of charging. You have to shake it because the zinc powder, that's what's left of the 2 grams, so it's probably like almost 2 grams in there. It's fine though, that's sort of suspended, so if it was dry it would be like smaller looking. So the powder goes through and builds up on the cell's surface and shorts it out. You can tell when you're charging, and sort of we only get 2 minutes and it's dropping, but the concentration of that's way down, because when I drained some of this out I would have lost a lot of it as well, and I've done that a few times. The new pump's holding up, and we're right down on level, so the cell might be out of its due date. I'll give it another charge up later. It could still have powder in there. I had to really shake it to get it not to lose the short circuit it had. You can tell it had a short circuit. As soon as you cut off the power supply, the voltage would drop right back down. So this is the best it's been for about 3 days now. So it's running sort of. Before it was unable to even run a load at 20 milliamps. There's still a little bit of zinc at the bottom of that. If I turn the pump off, that overnight will turn clear as it absorbs the zinc. So it's going to be interesting to see what it looks like in the cell. I might see, because that's probably expired, that stuff now. I might put some zinc sulfate maybe and see if that increases the voltage of the cell. But because it's zinc sulfate, it'll probably keep dissolving the zinc out of it. The cell in its uncharged state. Notice the clearness of the liquid, the electrolyte. Zinc iodide now, but see there's zinc at the bottom. You can see that there's some grey patches, and then there looks like there's some ridgy some sort of substance. That must be the zinc oxide being used up in something, so it could be zinc oxide, because it does degrade over 40 or 38 cycles. It starts dropping in power. So it starts off really low in power and everything because of the 2 carbon pads, and they're just standard off the shelf welders carbon pads. And then we get to like 20 milliamp hours. Milliwatt hours is varies. All runs are pretty much 1 hour charge. It actually changes its color in about 45 minutes and starts getting darker, and then that's it. There's no more zinc left in the Lugols. It's all plated. So I'm gonna pull this apart and see what's happening inside. I would say we're losing contact with the copper pads. There's oxidized copper forming, but I may have spilt it, some of the electrolyte or some water. It's very diluted. As you can tell, it was first used in this cell, which the carbon would have sucked up a lot of the iodine. Alright, I'll get this pulled apart. Taking a look at the cell parts after 41 charges and discharges. This side's the negative. So the copper pad was on the back side of this graphite plate, and there's some copper stuck to it. There may have been some leakage coming from the edge initially and going in, because it looks like it's sort of been wet inside And on the other side as well. Hang on, that's the side of the pad, touching that pad. And that's the outside, touching the plastic. So we had contact. There's indented through here where we cut out. There's a flange there. It's about 2 millimeters from the top, so the carbon felt can compress and make contact. So flipping that over, the negative side thing. And there's a lot of gunk and zinc buildup. See that little trail? That's where I was poking the skewer through the inlet and outlet holes. So I must have carved a channel. So it's sort of swelled up. It looks like you need a lot more room than that distance from there to there, which is about 6 mil, 6 or 7. So this is sort of spongy. It was also caked around inlet holes, both sides. For the positive side, that looks a bit drier. That was the side the carbon felt was attached to. We have some discoloration. It's also sunk into the middle, so it's going outwards. Back side of this has the same problem with the copper leaching. The copper pad's a bit better, but we'd be losing some resistance through all of this stuff. And for the positive felt, that's a bit better looking. It looks like there's some zinc plating. It would have been, when I first pulled it apart, they were touching with this big chunky build-up. So there is a gunk issue. It builds up with some stuff. And I think carbon felt also looks like it might have swollen. So that was the size of the surface area for the cells. It was about 20 milliamp hours and 20 milliamp. Alright, milliamp hours. So around about 20 milliamp hours, 15 to 16 milliwatt hours on the cell. But average voltage around about, does go up to 86 there, well 0.86 for the average voltage. So it's pretty low voltage, but it's pretty standard sort of cell. There's nothing fancy in there. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I didn't mind building this thing. It's got some interesting aspects that it's a one fill thing, but it does clog up a bit, or a lot. Maybe if you keep the liquid circulating permanently without leaving it overnight, you might not get so much of a build-up, perhaps. The cell did like a faster flow of the electrolyte because I was adjusting the voltage on the pump, and the lower you go, the lower the voltage was, but it gets to a point where it doesn't increase anymore as well. Alright, so thanks for watching, and have a good day.